Okay, well, welcome back, everybody, and hope you enjoyed that session. A really important one, that, of course, attracting new members, our lifeblood. So we're going to take a 5-minute break now. Please be promptly back. You'll have a counter on the screen in a few moments, because when we get back, we shall be hearing from our special guest, the RI President-elect, Jennifer Jones. Thank you very much. See you shortly. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Well, here we are then with our special guest speaker. Fellow Rotarians, we're welcome back once again. Here's Jennifer. Good afternoon to you, Jennifer.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. And you okay?
I'm good. It's 6:45 a.m. in California right now. And so, well, you may be sipping on an adult beverage. I'm going to be pouring a cup of tea quite soon.
I was about to ask you what the time was. So let everybody know the context of where you are and what time it happens to be. So it's my great honor to introduce our very special guest speaker today, the RI President-elect Jennifer Jones. I first met Jen back in 2007, I think it was, when I was a district governor-elect. And it was clear from those days and our conversations, I recall, that she was destined for greater things in Rotary. And here you are, you've made it to the top. So many, many congratulations. So we've got lots of presidents-elects here from 4 districts gathered from across Scotland and Ireland. And there's a number of other observers and people joined in as well. So it's wonderful to have you here. So the format, I believe, is you're going to talk to us about 20 minutes. Then questions, please, to questions, aka Chris Davies. And then Chris will come in and take you through some of those. And then after those questions, we've got a little treat for you, I hope, with a special little tributes as well. So there we go. So Jennifer, thank you very much. Over to you.
Well, Dennis, thank you very much for the kind invitation. And hello, Presidents-elect. It is a joy to be able to spend this time with you and to get to know you a little bit better virtually, but I'm very much looking forward to getting to know you all in person in the upcoming year. I would like to give a big shout out to our international Vice President-elect, Nikki Scott, who is on the call with all of us here today. I know that there's probably great pride in your part of the world that one of your own is going to be serving as our Vice President next year. And not only that, even more pride that our own international president the year after is going to come from the beautiful country of Scotland. And so certainly a lot of attention being placed on your part of the world right now and all of the great things that are Rotarians there as people of action are doing. So Dennis, I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to spend this time. And more than anything, I'm really excited to be able to get into doing more of an interactive Q&A session. And Chris, thank you for being able to hold down the fort on that. I appreciate that. Chris and I go way back as well to our training leader days. And so a very much of a delight to be able to see you as well. I'd like to start with a couple of stories this afternoon, I should say, for all of you, and some thoughts about the theme that we've selected that I had the opportunity, the privilege to select for us to serve in the 22-23 year. It's an exciting time. We have been through two very dark years. And I think that for all of us, we now see hope on the horizon, hope in the form of vaccines, hope in the form of therapeutics, seeing mask mandates starting to diminish in some parts of our world. We're not out of the woods yet, and we're hopeful, and I know we all pray that another variant doesn't come along and derail some of the progress that we're seeing. But I think that we're starting to feel perhaps that maybe the normal from the before times might be starting to showcase itself a little bit. And what an opportunity that is for all of us as leaders in our organization right now to help our clubs heal, to help our clubs step forward in this era of service that we're going to lead together. So it was back in August that Nick and I had the opportunity to finally move to Evanston, Illinois, our international headquarters, and a chance for me to finally walk into my president-elect office, an office that I had respected for years. And then to be able to sit at my big desk. Well, a couple of days later, I received an email, a private message actually, from a Rotarian who said that you will likely remember me. You've spoken at our club. We met in Hamburg, and I have a long shot favor to ask you. He continued on that there was a peace scholar, an activist that their club had a strong relationship with in Kabul, Afghanistan. Now, if you'll recall, we were all watching collectively in horror the scenes play out in mid-August as thousands of people were trying to flee the country, certainly through the airport in Afghanistan in Kabul. He said, is there any way that you could get her onto an evacuation list? He expressed to me the danger that she was in, and she was connecting with them on private VPN lines. There I was now, behind my big desk and feeling incredibly small. Who was I and what could I do to affect this situation? And then I started to think about it. And I remembered a peace fellow that I had met a few years earlier, a peace fellow who might be able to influence this kind of situation. And so I reached out to him. Now it was my long shot. I told him the situation. I told him all about this woman and the Rotarians that were trying to help her. And I'm incredibly proud to tell you that within 24 hours, she was on an evacuation list. In less than 48 hours, she was being transported to Europe for further processing and on to, I'm not sure where. But imagine what she was feeling as the plane launched into the sky, taking her to safety. She had to have been thinking, it's a Rotary miracle, an absolute Rotary miracle. When we share these stories, when we experience these kinds of stories, our worlds collide and our responsibilities become clear to use and harness our influence as people of action, people of purpose, people of influence, to make those connections when the right times come along. A couple of years ago, I had the wonderful opportunity to travel to Melbourne, Australia, and that will be the location of our international convention in the year 22-23. And I hope that some of you are starting to tuck away extra dollars in preparation for our time that we may spend together there. While I was there, my good friend Bronwyn Stevens took me to a middle school, and she introduced me to a young interactor named Peter. And Peter said, if you want responsible children, you have to give them responsibilities. Peter was on to something. I don't think we need to look at our members as children, but we need to understand it's the same principle. If we want people to be engaged in our clubs, we need to give them meaningful responsibilities. That's how they become part of a lifetime of Rotary friendship and fellowship. Meaningful, hands-on opportunities to do something, because each and every one of us gets out of bed each day knowing through Rotary that we can make a difference. I was on an American television program a couple of years ago, and the host, a Rotarian, said something quite startling at the beginning of the interview. He said, you know, Jen, he said, I've been a Rotarian for more than 30 years. He said, but I recently only got Rotary. He told me about how he had gone and participated in a COATS program, distributing them to children who were in need. He was touched. He was touched. Can you imagine 1,500 meetings that he must have sat through over 30 years, and he only just got Rotary? Getting out and doing something other than sitting at a meal, being able to connect with others in service as people of action. He even then went on to become his club president. And I will tell you, as a senior Rotarian, he was the one who came in with the ability in a very traditional club to shake it up. He said, you know what, our lunch meeting isn't working. as a preeminent club in our district, were dwindling. He took them into an evening format, changed it up a little bit so that it wasn't so meal intensive. They're thriving, they're growing. There's hope for clubs to be able to change. And you, my friends, have the ultimate flexibility to make that happen, to look at your own clubs and see right now, especially coming out of the pandemic, where we've had to change, where we've had to do things differently. Do we go back to the way it's always been? I sure hope not, because we've had an opportunity to be able to connect. For me to be able to sit here in California and join you at a meeting tonight in Ireland and Scotland and with members from, I know, Great Britain as well. What a privilege that we have this opportunity to connect. And that's what Rotary does. It breaks down barriers and borders because we're all one. We're all one Rotary. So if we don't serve our members, we don't serve our communities. And if we don't provide comfort and care to our members, they may never get Rotary. My biggest charge to you is to, when you're inviting people into your clubs and for your existing members, ask them what they want out of their experience and then deliver on it. It's the proposition of personal growth, leadership development, public speaking improvement, being able to be better at board governance, to organize events. What is the hot button for someone who's walking through your door that you can help them realize that dream? You know, for so long, we've focused on doing exit interviews when people leave our clubs, wanting to know why they left. Well, you know what? It's too late. They're already on the way out. What we really need to be doing is asking them when they walk in. And then, as I said, delivering on that promise. It's this offer of hands-on service and personal growth and leadership development and lifelong friendships that create passion and purpose for us. These are our responsibilities, you and I. Just like Peter said, if we want responsible members, we have to give them responsibilities. Nick and I had an incredible opportunity, my husband, to visit the country of Jordan a few years ago for a district conference. And the opening ceremony was outside in an open air amphitheater overlooking the Dead Sea. It was a spectacular evening, a tapestry of stars over top of us. And after several speeches, we retired to a beautiful outdoor dinner. The district governor brought over a gentleman and introduced me to Dr. Mark Turpentine. Mark was in the country from Indianapolis in the United States to perform what's called a Gift of Life mission. This is where children who cannot access and or afford to have heart procedures, these teams of doctors and nurses and professionals come in and conduct these different camps. And so it was that Dr. Mark was there for a Gift of Life mission. We had a lovely little chit chat, got to know each other a little bit better over dinner. And fast forward to the end of the week. The end of the week, and the governor, hours from taking us to the airport, said, "Jen, you know what? Dr. Mark is starting the surgical rotation today. Would you like to go to the hospital to see what's going on?" I jumped at the opportunity. Of course, I wanted to see what was going on. And so we raced to the hospital. Very quickly, I found myself in hospital greens, and then seconds later, standing in front of the doors to the operating theater. The doors opened. I stepped in, and I felt the need to just be incredibly quiet, stepping off to the side, barely breathing. In front of me was Dr. Mark, and I could see him with his back to me, overlooking a patient. And on that table was a patient covered in head to toe, and what I could tell looked like an open square over the area of the heart. Standing to the one side of Dr. Mark was a nurse, and standing off to the other side was an anesthetist. And so I watched as he took what looked like a piece of cloth, maybe the size of a dollar coin, a big dollar coin like we would have in Canada. And he took this, and I could see he was leaning over and he was starting to stitch, and he was stitching with incredible precision. stitch, 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 stitch. And then every once in a while, he would put his hand under the heart and he would give it a little jiggle. And then he would look over to the anesthetist and he would say, warm it up a little. And then he would go back to stitching again, stitch, 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 jiggle, 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 warm it up a little. At one point, he must have sensed someone in the room because he turned around and he said, Jen, he said, when did you come in here? And I said, just a few minutes ago, and I was trying so hard to be quiet. And he said, come on over here, let me show you what I'm doing. So I did. So I walked over, and here I could see the patient laying on the table, and he was showing me exactly. Selma was a refugee from Syria, and she was having this gift of life. So I continued to watch as he stitched and stitched, and then finally he tied it off in this tight knot, and he finally gave a really good jiggle to the heart. And at that point, he looked over to the anesthetist and he said, finally, warm it up. And at that moment, little Selma's heart started to beat. Boom, boom, boom. I hadn't realized that her heart wasn't beating. It makes perfectly logical sense. He was conducting a surgery on her heart. But at that moment, I was able to see her come back to life, to see her heart beating, and then to be able to go out into the hallway and to be able to see her parents and to tell them, Selma's going to be great. She is going to run and she is going to play and she's going to be an amazing little girl. And we sat there just weeping in joy together. Our vision statement says, together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves. It's that lasting change within ourselves. It's my favorite part of that vision statement. Who of us is not better because of our association with Rotary and all that it offers to us? Each and every one of us has that difference to get out of bed every day and make a difference. That lasting change within ourselves. I know that I am a better person for meeting Selma. I'm a better person for meeting Peter, who told us about responsibilities. I'm a better person every day when I connect with people who share their stories and stories we have. And part of the best way we can engage people in our organization is to share these stories of what it is that we're doing. Telling them the story of polio eradication. And yes, while we have a few hiccups, we are in the home stretch. Sadly, 2 weeks ago in Afghanistan, where we have one case year to date, 8 polio workers were assassinated, 4 men and 4 women. These people putting their lives on the line to try and get us across the finish line. So when people in our communities say, what's polio? Polio is gone. It's our job to tell them what we're doing, how we're ready to cross the finish line, and how we will be responsible, every one of us in some way, big or small, excuse me, for helping to eradicate a disease off the face of the planet for the second time in the history of humankind. That we were able to use our public health infrastructure, which we have created with our partners in more than 70 countries, to not only deal with polio, but then 2 years ago to transit into dealing with COVID. We are able to do things that even governments can't do. This is a story that I think we should be shouting from the rafters. So we need to take care of each other. We need to look around our clubs right now, and we need to look toward the people who perhaps have not re-engaged, who stepped back. Mental wellness is something that we need to be talking about openly in our clubs. We've been through something profoundly life-changing for each and every one of us, every man, woman, and child on this planet. And so Comfort and care is something that I want you to be talking about with your club members. And I know you would have received, each of you, an email from me earlier this week with a video link that I would love for you to share with your club after July 1. Right now, our job is to support the leadership that's sitting in the chairs leading our clubs right now, standing in front, making sure that we all know the direction that we're leading under President Shaker. But on July 1, I want us to switch the narrative to comfort and care and make sure that our members fall in love with their clubs. That's what we need them to do. We need them to have that perfect engagement. I know that this is something that we can share and that we can do together. I want you to be brave, courageous, intentional leaders, to do the things that you know are right, even when no one's looking. 50 years ago, there was an anthem that was recorded that included these beautiful lines. You may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hear that lyric as a call to action. And when organizations like ours dream big things like eradicating polio, the eradication of polio and creating peace, it becomes our responsibility to make these dreams a reality. We don't imagine yesterday. We imagine tomorrow, the world that deserves our best. Imagine a world free of disease. Imagine a world with clean water for everyone. Imagine a world where every child learns to read. Imagine hope and love and kindness and peace. And that's why, my dear friends, together, I'm asking that we transit our year under the term of Imagine Rotary, to allow those dreams to happen and then to make them a reality. Thank you so much for your incredible leadership. I'm so proud to be able to serve alongside with each and every one of you. And I'm looking so forward to being able to imagine Rotary together. So at this point, let me say a very kind thank you for your attention, and let's get talking. I'd love to hear some questions and some thoughts and some of the reflections that you might like to share with me while we're on this call together. Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Jennifer, and what powerful stories you've told us, as always. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Yesterday, we were very fortunate to speak to a Rotarian in Slovakia, who's been working on, getting the people across the border from Ukraine. And also yesterday, we had a talk about foundation. And the people that I spoke to after the talk on foundation actually said for the first time they got foundation. And one of the things that I think I would like to ask you, and this is in the question as well, what can we do to make the most impactful changes for the people of Ukraine by working through foundation and by working through the people who are actually on the front line? And the lady was Monica. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Monica, for the question. And my goodness, we've all watched again in horror over the past couple of weeks as we've seen this situation begin to unfold in an unprecedented way in Ukraine. And I have been in a few different locations over the past couple of weeks, but the story remains exactly the same. Every single person I talk to saying, what can we do? And this week, our Rotary Foundation trustees took an incredible decision to utilize and harness our disaster response fund, specifically for us to be able to place dollars into that disaster fund so that we can steward grants into the hands of not only those in Ukraine, but in the surrounding countries where many of the refugees are being homed and housed as we speak. One of the reasons I think that this is a profound way for us to be able to steer this is that through our foundation, we all know that we're ranked by Charity Navigators as one of the top foundations in the world. And it's because of the incredible stewardship that we have and the way that we're able to take care of these incredibly valuable dollars that each of us put forward. And so I know for myself, right now, there are a lot of different other initiatives and organizations that are looking to raise funds, but I place incredible trust in what it is that we do in getting it into the hands of people who we trust that are Rotarians on the ground to make sure the funds are being used in the best and most appropriate way possible. And so my challenge and I guess an encouragement to you is to look to our Rotary Foundation. Information is certainly on our Rotary International Facebook page right now. Emails have been coming out to your governors-elect, many who are on the call here that can be able to share with you some of the links. Even just going onto the Rotary website right now, you'll be able to locate where that is and how to be able to donate money. Whether that's yourself personally, whether it's as a small club fundraiser, something that you're doing in a district level, any of those dollars is going to be incredibly meaningful for those people. And it's been incredibly challenging. I see Nikki saying here, let me just open my chat, that there is something on the GBNI website, and the link is right there. So you can go there if you want to copy and paste that before the call ends, just to make sure you know exactly where to go. And we're also, the trustees also took the decision to enable districts to use unallocated district designated funds, and DDF, as we best know, to that fund. And that's those are dollars that have already been donated to the Rotary Foundation that have come back into your districts for use as you see fit. And so that is another opportunity for that to happen. It is, it's unthinkable to, try and get our heads around what these people are dealing with. And I said in the very beginning that Rotary exists without borders and boundaries. And when our Rotary family in Ukraine, and quite honestly, Rotary members in Russia who I've had the incredible privilege to meet, and they're incredible people doing good things, I can only imagine the pain that they're feeling at this time too. And so as a Rotary family, when something happens in another part of the world, when it happens in our own backyards, we know that other people are looking toward us in support. And so I hope that gives us all comfort to know that we're part of something much larger than a club experience. We're part of a global movement that truly takes care of each other. That comfort and care is not just about our clubs, it's about our world at large.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's lovely. And I'm sure people will be warmed by the fact that you're holding Ukraine as well. It's something that obviously it's in Europe, so it's holding very close to us. So thank you. On a lighter note, thank you very much indeed for the Imagine that you've given us, and we can use it so much in all the things that we're looking going forward. I just wonder about the colours. Were they from the suffragette movement? Was that your idea of choosing them?
So let me actually, I'll take a little step back, and then I'll come to the colors. The logo design, let me give you a little bit of the background on how that came to be, because in many ways, when you look at it, I'm sure that there are people who, it's quite simple and, open to interpretation. And so when you look at the presidential logo, one of the things that I wanted to ensure that it had a familial relationship to the logo for our convention in Melbourne. And so when you see that, there's a great similarity in the imagery between the two. And so what I did was, along with our Rotary team, we reached out to an Aboriginal artist in Australia, Ricky Salem, and I worked with him, sharing the thoughts and inspiration that I wanted to put into our theme of Imagine Rotary, and then looking for symbolism in what we could create together. And so there's a circle with the 7 dots around it, and then a green line below. The circle in the middle is all about the ultimate connectivity. And so in Aboriginal lore, when people were sitting in circle together, cross-legged, when you get up, there's a circle mark on the ground below you. And what he did was, instead, it's almost like a bit of a horseshoe shape like this. But what he did was he closed it off to make it the ultimate connectivity, that power of the circle. And then each of the 7 dots that are around the circle could represent people, certainly sitting in dialogue, in conversation, people of action. But there's 7 of them, and I selected that with him because of our 7 areas of focus. And together, the dots and the circle become what he told me is a navigation star. And it's a way for us to look toward our future, our guiding light, if you will. And then the green line at the bottom is what he told me is called a digging stick. Thank you for putting that up. So a digging stick. And so what he said is that when in history, when hard work needed to be done, you needed a digging stick to pick up and chomp at the ground to, break it up. Whether you were planting or building, you needed this digging stick. And so for us, it's a metaphorical digging stick. As people of action, we need that digging stick to do our hard work. And so, as I say, it can be open to interpretation. There's people who might think it's a sun on the horizon line, a table with people around it. Regardless of how they interpret it, I wanted you to be able to know that so that you could share that with your club members as well. The selection of the colors, purple and white, Chris, you're right, it's the colors of the suffragette movement. And for me, a very subtle nod to the women's movement. And in my capacity as our first woman president, while I don't intend to spend a lot of time talking about that, I prefer to talk about the diverse perspective of our organization. I did want to have one subtle little touch that perhaps embraced that things look maybe just a little bit different this year. But I also think that we could look at it from purple for polio, green for the environment, white for peace. So it does lend itself to the ability for people to interpret it how they want to. And one other thing on that note, and to club presidents, you might not be familiar with this, but every year for I don't know how many decades, we've had what our governors-elect have worn as a theme jacket. And you might be familiar with seeing your governors every year sort of in a different color jacket. And this year I decided to forego having a theme jacket and instead ask the governors-elect and members at large to embrace these colors. And part of that is from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint. I felt that it wasn't truly authentic to ask everyone to try to dress the same. And so I want people to express themselves, maybe through the use of colors, as their most authentic selves. And so again, it has the ability for us to open the dialogue a little bit broader on diversity, equity, and inclusion as well. And so glad to be able to share that with all of you. And I hope that that gives some meaning behind what we're going to share together in terms of a theme.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. There is a question, well, it's a statement in the question area, which I think is appropriate for me to read out. There are brave people right now protesting on the streets of St. Petersburg as we have a conference. They have links to Rotary or they have spoken at our clubs. A small note of recognition that they are acknowledged today would boost morale. And Peter is actually speaking to them at 5 o'clock. So I don't know if you have a message for them, Jennifer.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Peter, thank you for that. I was asked about our Rotarian friends in Russia on a call, a PEPs call yesterday, I think it was. And when I was in St. Petersburg about 7 or 8 years ago, got to know a number of brilliant Rotarians doing really great work there. And we're placing a lot of emphasis right now on trying to help them grow, how to do it in a way that's well organized. And I think we have about 900 Rotarians there, if I have the number correct. And so I was asked about, any connectivity that I'd had. And I had to admit at that time, and Peter, I would love to hear more of the dialogue that you have with them. The way that I responded was that I actually had stepped back from reaching out to a couple of my friends there because of social media and not knowing how it's being observed or watched. And I know that obviously the last independent news media was removed yesterday. So I was a bit fearful of not wanting to put any friends into a precarious position. I'm glad to hear that you're connecting with them, and maybe through one of our colleagues here, Peter, you could send me a note afterward just to let me know how that went. I'll give you my email address. I'd love a little
Yeah, great, good stuff.
a little note afterward about that. So it's very easy, jennifer.jones@rotary.org. Please let them know that all of us are thinking of them. Our hearts.
I will do. Yeah,
Our hearts
certainly. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. And I want to point out too that sitting next to you on my screen, Peter, is Phil Dyer. And Phil, nice to see you. And I love that you were in strawberry fields in New York City recently and posted the photograph of yourself on that beautiful mosaic near John Lennon's Dakota home, where he was unfortunately and tragically assassinated. And that is a place that I feel so much energy and vibe around. And anytime I'm in New York, I go there just simply to be able to put my hands on it. And I'm glad that you were able to do the same thing. That was really cool. I loved seeing that come up on social media.
Yeah, thank you.
Jennifer, I think we are just all so grateful that you've joined us in person today, because it is such a really good opportunity for our presidents-elect to actually see you at club level and to know what a warm and wonderful storyteller you are. So thank you very much for your time today. Please go off and get yourself a good breakfast and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you, everyone. And I just wish you the best of luck in your year ahead, and can't wait to be able to serve together as we all imagine Rotary. So much love. Thank you.
Don't rush off just yet, though, Jennifer. We've got one more little thing for you.
Yes, got a surprise.
So, District Governor-elect Sean Fitzgerald from Ireland, from District 1160, he's got a couple of minutes. A couple of minutes for a poem to read to you.
Hey, good afternoon or good morning, Jen. This occurred because you mentioned your partner and your husband, and we all have partners. And one of the things that happened was that Marianne, who is the president-elect of Larne Club, didn't really realize that her partner was actually listening to what was going on and taking in what was happening around him, as so much of us don't. So, I mean, one of the things I'd like to say to people is to urge them to look after their partner, because their partner helps them through their year as president, as governor, and everything we do in Rotary. But this is what happened. And he wrote this and he left it for her. And it's Imagine Rotary by Murray MacDowell from the Rotary Club of Larne. Imagine Rotary. There's a world where no one cares. Imagine that. There's a place where no one shares. Imagine that. That world is not a world we know. That place is not a place we go. Imagine shares and cares that flow. Imagine Rotary. There's a life where hunger reigns. Imagine that. There's a child who cries again. Imagine that. That life is not a life for me. That child just needs a chance to see. Imagine lives and children free. Imagine Rotary. There's a time when all is safe. Imagine that. There's an earth with no disease. Imagine that. That time is not so far away. That earth can see a better day. Imagine all we hope and pray. Imagine Rotary.
Wow.
Thank you, Sean.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sean, would you mind sending that to me?
Yes, I will. And Murray has given it to us in our district to use in the coming year. And we're hoping that maybe we can use it in some way to raise funds if other people want to use it for foundation.
That is brilliant. I'm just thinking that I don't want to overstep that. I'm just thinking that in about 2 hours, I'm going to be addressing about 500 or 600 PEs here in a part of California. Would it be inappropriate for me to share that with them and read it?
It would be a pleasure, and I'm sure I'm not sure if Murray is listening today, but it would be our pleasure we want to share it with everybody in the family of Rotary, because he listened to what you had to say, or he was listening in the background, and this is the result of what you have said, and the whole theme of Imagine Rotary has meant to him and to us.
That's beautiful. Well, if you wouldn't mind sending that to my email, that would be a beautiful way to be able to make connection and let them know the time that I spent with all of you today, and that way that we bridge people together. It's a great story. So if you wouldn't mind, so jennifer.jones@rotary.org, if you wouldn't mind sending, that would be a delight to be able to share.
No problem. We'll send it to you shortly. Thank you very much.
Sean. Thank you very much. And finally, thank you, President-elect Jennifer, for your time and your wonderful message. It's a fantastic honour to have you here. As you know, we've got a few more President-elect seminars coming up, and I know messages have been recorded and maybe you're joining us, but we wish you well. We really do, from the whole of Scotland and Ireland, and everybody here. Wish you well in your year and look forward to seeing you again face to face at some point. So thank you, Jennifer. Safe journey back to wherever you're going now, or onwards, and have a great day. And all our best to the other 500 President-elects from all those here.
Be well, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye.
Right, bye-bye.
Wow. Well, there you go. Thank you, Sean, for that. Lovely poem, and obviously very well received. So congratulations on that one. We don't often get a privilege like that, President-elects. It's an honour, really, to bring someone like Jenny to an event like this, with that message direct to you, and that is fantastic. So it was recorded. It will be shareable at some stage in the very near future, and I know Phil and Wendy are working on getting that out via YouTube or wherever it happens to be. So there we go. I think probably what we need to do then, rather than waiting around for 5 to, because you need to get online first. So Callan, are you ready to give us 5 minutes of your presentation, and then we'll come back to it?
Yeah, I'm starting it with a bit on the logo, which takes approximately 5 minutes, so that would be fine.
Let's do that then, and then by the time you've done, Jennifer will be with us.
Okay, if we can go on to the first slide, which shows the logo, which I think is 2 ahead. Yep. Yeah. It's just to mention our logo. I know that we're all very proud to be Rotarians, and we should be proud of our logo, but there's still people that aren't using it properly or are using the old one. And I know I've been hitting people over the head about using the old one, but rather than telling people they must use it, I want to explain why you should use the logo properly, and why it works, and why it really is something we can all be proud of. First and foremost, this is our logo. This is the Rotary logo. We're Rotarians. This is our logo. But we haven't always had the same logo. If we can get the next slide, we'll have a wee video which just shows where the logos come from and how it's advanced. Now, it goes back to way back to 1906 was the first wheel that we know of. So it hasn't always been what we know. It's evolved over the years to suit the times of the clubs of that day. Some of these will look familiar, but they've always had the same thing about it. So it's been an evolution and not a revolution. But there's one difference with the current incarnation, and that's the name. If we can get to the next slide, these are the logos of some of the leading charities which have recently rebranded in the past few years. You notice something about them? Every single one of them includes the name as part of the logo. It's a very prominent part of the logo. It's in your face. It's not just the logo beside the name is part of it, with one exception on the right there. And if we get the next slide, we'll see that everybody knows who it is now, because up till now, no matter what we think, people just didn't know what that wheel represented. So next slide. this is our logo. And yes, we know one of the complaints is that yellow on white doesn't always work, especially on home printers. So on the next slide again, you'll see that there are official alternatives. That's the standard. There we can use the Azure, or you've got a black version. If it's a dark background, on the next slide we'll see you've got white alternatives, both with the yellow wheel and with a white wheel. So again, let's an example of why that matters and why it works. Next slide. There's a nice sunny picture there. If we wanted the Rotary symbol somewhere else, on the next slide, you'll see it doesn't work. But we do have an alternative. Next slide shows the white version. And there it's nice, stands out nice and clear. Now, another reason for this logo, this symbol is it's consistent across the whole of Rotary. If we can get the next slide again. Right, that's it as it is. Now, I'll ask Phil just to click through the next kind of 4 in a sequence, because you'll see that the club name is now based on it. It used to be that clubs would put it, the name anywhere on a poster, but now we have districts the same, the club name is in the same position. If we have Rotary clubs working together, like in Edinburgh, that's the same. The Rotary Foundation has changed its logo for that. And finally, Rotaract and Interact have also changed their logos, so it's all the same format. So it means wherever you go, people will recognize that format, and it's consistent through the whole of Rotary. The next slide, we haven't abandoned the wheel on its own completely. You can see there on a gazebo, the wheel can stand on its own, but you still got to use it with the official logo with the name beside it. And you can see that on the side banners there. So the wheel's still there, but you should use it with the full Rotary logo. Next couple of slides show the Scottish Schools Athletics Championships. Now, it's pretty clear who sponsored it. So there's no contestant. You don't just have a wheel there and people go, oh, I wonder who that was. It's very clear. And that went out to 200 schools' Facebook pages. So again, it's getting the name out there and people recognizing what that wheel stands for. The next slide will just show a summary of how it is. That also shows the simplified version, which was originally for use on online or small sewing, where it was the lettering wasn't clear, but it can now be used full-time at full size as well. This logos at a glance can be downloaded from the RI site or Rotary GB&I, and you can also go to the brand center where you can create your own logo in the right format and make sure it's used properly. So the last 2 slides are just a summary of what I've been saying. This is our logo. And again, the next one, the other version on a different background. Let's use it properly. Let's be proud of it. The more people recognize it and the name Rotary, the more we can do and the more pride we can have in wearing it. Over to you, Phil.
Elise, are we going to just hold off here for Jen Jones?
Yeah, I think so. That's a nice, neat end to that part of it. Thank you very much, Callan.
And Garth has literally just come in. Sorry.
Garth has come in as well. Good. I think the logo business is really important. So that's really useful, Callan. Thank you, because one of the issues I always have with people wearing their pin these days is that we still see many people wearing the round, just the wheel pin. And okay, there's nothing to stop people doing that, but it doesn't do what Callan has just said. It doesn't name Rotary. So what I would like to say is to everybody, and I said during my presidential year to many, is take those round pins off, put them in the box with your cufflinks and your brooches that you never wear, and get yourself the new oblong ones that have got the full brand on it. They come in different colors as well, so matching whatever outfits there are, but it certainly is a brand that is working now. And people look at it and say, yeah, Rotary, it's fantastic. So now we've just got our final little bit of the the public image session to finish. So I'm going to pass over now to Garth, who has joined us. We heard from Callan earlier. He did the bit about the logo and the brand. And Garth, over to you to conclude that session, please. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Of course, Garth, as you may well know from 1160, is our chairman or chair-elect of the new GB&I board. So congratulations, Garth.
Thanks, Dennis. Can you all hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay, well, thanks very much, Dennis, and thanks to Callan earlier for sort of stepping in. I'm sitting in a hotel in Belfast with soon to join 14 students that we're taking away as part of a youth leadership between Belfast and Dublin for the next few days. So looking forward to that. So not sure what Callan sort of said earlier, but we've been working as our sort of own cluster. So it's a big thank you to Callan and David and Christy and myself for what we've pulled together. So we heard a lot from Callan there about the brand and our logo. And now I'm just going to spend a little bit of time just sort of talking about Rotary stories. And it just fits in very nicely with what Jen has been talking about. So next slide, Phil, please. So just need to be conscious and remember we are a global brand. On to the next one, please. And whilst you'll all have your club public image or district resource to help you with any graphics and designs, it's good to know what tools are there for you to use. So visit the brand center, you'll see the link there to find everything you need to create your Rotary communications with its new look and feel. You can download the Rotary logos, you can create your own club or district logo. Plus you'll be able to find templates, brochures and newsletters, PowerPoint presentations and flyers that can all be edited and changed. Remember that you need to sign in. Next slide, please. So in our increasingly digital age, we live our lives predominantly on our phones and our computers, tablets, all hooked up to some system of Wi-Fi connection. Next one, please. Remember that people buy with their eyes, never more so in a social media saturated world with high definition, computer enhanced, color corrected world that we live in today. Pictures that are posted on social media and the web can be broadcast from Liverpool to Lima in hours. We're part of an organization of 1.4 million members. We have a global reach. We need to respect our brand with our consistency. Next slide, please. Remembering we're a people of action. We connect passionate people with diverse perspectives to exchange ideas, forge lifelong friendships, and above all, take action to change the world. Next slide, please. There are over 2 billion Facebook users in the world, 630 million LinkedIn users, 330 million on Twitter, and 1 billion on Instagram. So just think of our potential reach that we can make with all these Rotary stories. Next slide, please. So if Rotary is all about telling our story, what story has been written right now? We're going to listen to a short video, which maybe might be a little bit familiar with it, but I think it's worthwhile us sitting back and listening again. You play the video, Phil, please. Okay, thanks, Sil, and I really do like that Silverdale video, and it will be available separately if anybody want to use it. So this is what it's all about, getting our message out there. Next slide, please. So think of this content of a Rotary story, or maybe a flyer for an event. The beginning could be the event is in 2 weeks, buy your tickets now. The middle could be the event itself, and the end could be just a few thanks to say that we raised £1,500 for the Rotary Foundation. So just remember, it's about the full package: the beginning, middle, and the end. Next slide, please. So global awareness of Rotary, the Rotary brand is very strong. However, most people have little understanding of who we are, what we do. And People of Action was developed to help narrow the gap between awareness and understanding. So our goal is to equip and empower your clubs to tell their stories of local impact in a consistent and a compelling way. Next, please. So telling your People of Action story. So just have a look at the photograph. I'm sure you could write a brilliant story to accompany it with the action shot that it is. Next, please. So People of Action is for clubs. It's for you. It's your stories of local impact that will resonate with your local community. So when we use People of Action to tell and show communities who we are and what we do, we build the public's understanding of what Rotary is. Elevating Rotary's public image and enhancing understanding lays the foundation for our engagement. It generates interest and will lead to membership, involvement, and support. Next, please. So if you just have a look at the diagrams here, you can see it's all these sort of things have enhanced. Not many years ago, you would have focusing all your efforts probably just on your local newspaper. Now we've got so much. So share your story on social media. Feature People of Action logos on club websites. Use People of Action messaging across your communications. Update club Facebook pages regularly. Use the People of Action branding. Post on the clubs in action and share your posts with Rotary International as well as Rotary Great Britain and Ireland. So next, please. Let me just get my. Okay, so most important, the world needs more Rotarians. So we just push the button again, please, Phil. So remember, it's all about working together. With more members, we can do more service projects, increase our funds for the Rotary Foundation, which gives us more stories, which gives us more members. You can do more service projects and increase our foundation giving. So remember, it's all about working together and how we all interlink with each other. Next, please, Phil. So just thought we'd talk about a few takeaways. It's not your fish and chips, but hopefully it's a few things that you've remembered. So remember, tell your Rotary stories. Just keep those flowing, Phil. Remember, we're a global brand. Visit the brand center for all your logos and templates. Post on social media. Be mindful of your audience. Check your pictures before you post. I've seen so many pictures on Facebook where people have got flowers or plants growing out of their heads. So just make sure that you just check it before you post it. And consistency is the key to success. Consistency leads to habits. Habits form the actions we take every day. Action leads to success. As Anthony Robbins said, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. So thanks everybody for listening. As you say, the slides will be available. Hopefully that adds a little bit more. I know you'll have your teams around you to help and support you, but hopefully that just gives you a little bit of an oversight of what we're doing in public image. And remember, it's all around Rotary stories. So now I think we're going to do some breakouts. Is that right, Dennis?
Right. Okay. Thank you, Garth. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. We're running just a little bit behind schedule because of the wonderful extra time that Jennifer gave us. We were due to go into breakouts for 20 minutes, but that's going to take us over the top. So what I'm going to do is say, well, let's go into breakouts, but we're going to have 10 minutes. Okay. But all I want you to do in those 10 minutes is to reflect on what Jennifer's had to say, reflect upon what Garth's just had to say about telling stories, and share that for 10 minutes in your breakouts, because I think there's some valuable stuff there in looking forward to think about how you can tell stories for promoting your next year as president-elect. So press the button, please, and you've got 10 minutes. Okay, folks, well, welcome back. Hope you found that just a useful 10 minutes to reflect on what President-elect Jennifer said. And it's about telling stories. She told some great ones, and we just heard that. But we do now come to the end of the event. And in a few moments, I'll hand over to the DGEs for their final words. But before that, I just need to say some thank yous to people as well. And first of all, thanks each and every one of the presidents-elect for your support and your participation, and for giving the time that you've done so over the last few days. And we sincerely hope from the work that everyone's put into it, including yourselves, that you have felt it's been time well spent. Preparing for the coming year is so important. And this year more than ever, as clubs rekindle their face-to-face fellowship and, of course, the outside service delivery. However, we also owe much thanks to the district governor-elects and the district teams for allowing it to happen. It's the second multi-district PEPs that we've run in GBI, the first one being 12 months ago. And as I said right at the beginning, we've got 3 more coming up. So this is all experimental. The fantastic thing is that you might have caught the message from Jennifer that she's about to attend one in California where there are 500 president-elects. That's probably about 7 districts or more getting together for their multi-district PEPs at this time as well. So thank you for joining that. Thank you to the content designers, and that's led by past District Governor Chris Davies, and the facilitation team drawn from the district and the GBI squad led by Bob Maskell, and technical support driven by Phil and Wendy all weekend, and supported with Alex as well. I hesitate to name all, but the delivery team and the speakers have been drawn from districts far and wide, because applause is not easy on Zoom, as we know, but I thank each and every one of the facilitators and the speakers on your behalf. So thank you, everybody. I do hope you've enjoyed the experience, and you are now among the best prepared president-elects currently in the world. So congratulations on your appointment for next year, and do have a great time. Do have a great year. It is one of the best jobs in Rotary, without a doubt. So I do hope you've enjoyed that experience. And with that, I'm now going to pass over to the 4 district governor-elects. That's Ken, Gail, Sean and Duncan for their closing remarks. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon again, and many thanks to each and every one of you for taking part in this weekend's multi-district Presidents-elect preparation seminar. Gail.
I think that you will agree that the support we have had from Rotarians, from Rotary Great Britain and Ireland, as well as across all 4 of our districts, has been exemplary. The inspirational addresses we have heard from Assistant Rotary Coordinator Monica Kochiova, which was an emotional and humbling and up-to-date response to the situation in Slovakia. RI Vice President-elect, RI Director and Leader of the Association, Nikki Scott, and our amazing RI President-elect Jennifer Jones, with another humbling presentation, have been the bonus booster shot in the arm we have all needed to look forward to the year ahead. You are all now heroes on the fringe. You are soon to take the first steps on your journeys as club presidents, and we all hope that it will be a fruitful and positive experience for you and for your club, as well as for Rotary. Sean.
Thank you, Gail. While the challenges facing Rotary are many, the reality is that as club president, you have a simple task to fulfill. To keep delivering Rotary in your communities by engaging your members and the public and other agencies in positive and meaningful ways. Easy to say, of course, not always easy to deliver. But with the help of your members and the support and guidance of your district teams, I'm sure that you will succeed. And I wish you every success. Ken.
Gail mentioned our guest speakers have been inspirational. And as Dennis mentioned, there's a huge team supported this. But thanks to that team and also to Dennis as well for guidance and support and keeping us on time. And not least to all of you, our heroes, thank you. Be proud of Rotary and all that Rotary and your club has achieved over the years. But now it is time to focus on the future. As Jennifer says, you don't imagine the past. Imagine Rotary as it will be for you, your club, and your community. Let's ensure that this year is not about leaving the legacy of Rotary was here, but planting the seedlings of Rotary is here, alive and kicking and open to everyone. Bring it on, and don't forget the chocolates. And you are now free to go back to your clubs and enjoy a fabulous year. Thank you all very much indeed, and have a safe journey back to your couch. Thank you.